to the LEC. Hello, Beachies and MBs. The last 10 seconds of that ad break, the music started getting very dramatic, very intense. It's because Team Heretics are about to take on Team Vitality for the last game of Week 1 of the Summer Split regular season. Let's go! So humor me, Dagda. Did I hear correctly yesterday, Jankos saying that "Let's go" is your official catchphrase?
So we were playing a lot of games over the break, and I didn't realize I did it, but they'd be like, "Oh yeah, let's go and do this new thing," or "Let's go and do the thing," and apparently I just responded all the time with "Let's go," and now it's just become a meme. So
I want you to give me a "Let's go" before a big team fight this game.
Okay,
That's a personal
my challenge. All right,
okay?
already.
And we'll give you a performance review of how good it is. So try to remember. Welcome to Picks and Bans. The Berlin crowd singing their chant of Week 1. At least they were, literally until I started talking about it, then they shut up. But it's Zayat, Nico, Draven, Vi, and... We're not hearing chants. Can they see Picks and Bans? Is that why? That's why! So the reason the crowd didn't cheer immediately for the Yuumi ban is our big screen wasn't currently on the Picks and Bans, so it came up after. Thank you, Berlin. Please, Vitality ban Milio. That is going to be the expected ban here.
Yeah, and it's actually going to be the Lucian, okay. So I still think Milio, your best option here. Milio is incredibly strong. And as you said, like, so many flexible pairings that can go with it. But I think there is going to be a significant pinch on this AD carry champion pool. So maybe it's just the Aphelios angle or the Jinx angle that we're going to end up seeing. Because Zaya, Draven, Lucian, now all taken off the board as well. So definitely going to be a bit of a weird one when we get down to it. But it's going to be the Milio. And then I think it's probably a Jinx Aphelios trade here.
Okay, well, that's 3 for 3 thumbs up from Abby throughout Picks and Bans. Milio locked in for Mersa. Flakked has been a revitalizing force for Team Heretics. I think Vetheo has played well, don't get me wrong, but I do think it's been Flakked with his relationship with Grandpa Jankos that has given a little bit of energy here. Team Heretics looking for the 3-0. They will be facing the LeBlanc and the Aphelios. Perkz has already run the Static Shiv LeBlanc earlier this weekend.
Yeah, I think it'll be the same again. So very, very strong pick, and something that we have seen ban quite a bit. But as we said with the AD carries, the focus, the LeBlanc will slip through. Now the question is, what do you want to try and go for as Heretics? I think your best option is realistically, you just try and go for full-on team fights and say, hey, we'll take the Cassante, which is open. We'll take something like the Jinx and Maokai, which is going to be great. But basically just play for full-on 5v5s and say, look, LeBlanc might be a threat in the side lane, but as long as we can get control of these dragons in this early game, we can try and play for those team fights.
I mean, Flakked has played Lucian and Draven thus far over the weekend. We'll decide to lock in Zeri. It is his 4th most played champion. I've got 160 games on record, 20 of them on Zeri already. And I think for Perkz as well, that LeBlanc, he's got over 72% win ratio all-time, career-wise, on the pick. Kaiser now needs to, I assume, lock in his support. That would be the most logical option, unless they are comfortable running a couple different things into Milio. Maybe they can look for one of their solo lanes or the jungler, but I would anticipate that being the option. It's going to be the Wukong instead. So now, do you pinch anything? Like, what on earth do you run into Milio?
I mean, I think the Nautilus and that kind of stuff are your general go-tos, because it's like, hey, look, Milio's just such a pain if he's allowed to scale into this massively into the late game. So I imagine that is going to try and be the focus here for Heretics, to try and get a safer bot side. On the upside for Vitality, we already talked about Cassante. They want to try and set up for strong team fights. So I think getting rid of the Cassante for Ebby, maybe even getting rid of something like the Sion as well, might be the call here. But I think we probably will just see even an Ornn or something along those lines for Ebby, and just trying to make these fights a little bit more difficult for Vitality to play out when you can just go for this front to back.
Yeah, and I think banning that Cassante, very, very clever. 10 games played this season for Ebby. Next highest is Jax at 4. That's how significant the difference is. And with the Rakan being the first ban here from Team Heretics, those S tier supports of Yuumi, Milio off the pool, then you do look at the likes of Rakan. I think Lulu as a potential, if Kaiser wants to go the engage support, something that he has played particularly well in the past, that is another angle you can consider. And like you mentioned as well, that Nautilus is one we talked about 2 games in a row.
Lulu is just something that we haven't really seen European teams pick up, though, although there is the ban. And we've kind of seen them go, hey, look, if there is an enchanter on the opposite side, we're kind of more willing to just fight fire with fire and see if we can go for something like the Nautilus, which is going to be locked in here. So I think it's kind of a difference, a big difference that we're seeing in versus the LPL or LCK, where they're like, we'll just match the Enchanter scaling and actually try and find advantages elsewhere on the map. But at the moment, I think Vitality have a great setup. You've got good engage tools with both the Nautilus and Wukong. You've got great side laning ability with the LeBlanc. You've got threat onto the backline. So I think it's really on Heretics now to see how they want to try and round this one out.
I mean, you've got the best wave clear in the game, LeBlanc, right? With Static Ship. Going to be able to control any of those side lanes. We've seen it used exquisitely. Photon will get the counter pick opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah, as now that's Sion locked in as well as Kaiser mid.
So we've actually seen some pros messing about with Kaiser mid a little bit, and Vetheo is one of them that's been doing a little bit in solo queue. It is a case of like trying to play with some of the advantages he got with things like Quincy's Rage Blade, now adding into her AP ability, and also then just adding into, hey, we've got another great AD carry that we can try and play for in these team fights. Also gives you a little bit of safety where you do have self-peel on the Kaiser thanks to that ultimate, so a lot more of that peel can go across. I also think in this situation, we've seen people like on BLG, on the Milio going for stuff like Moonstone Renewer, because Moonstone Renewer got changed where you end up giving, if I shield the Zeri and Kaiser's beside her, both you get the shield, both you get the passive, and that's where you can start to really ramp up that damage that this Milio can offer.
This is such a fun comp. I also love the idea of having a Kaiser and a Zeri with Milio for backup, and you got Sion Maokai on the front line. The reply, there is a Gwen lover in the audience. Somebody cheered very, very loudly as Photon locked that in. It might actually be a Gwen cosplayer, if I look at that. That'll so know. What do you make of the composition here, and how do Vitality want to play this one out?
Well, for Vitality, it's much more a case of, okay, can we play this sort of 1-4 style where we've got at least a strong front line coming through with the engage from the Wukong and the Nautilus. We can try and play with this Gwen to deter things like the Zeri or the Kaiser team fights. Also should give it a lot of controlling side lanes as well with the LeBlanc going for the static chip, we imagine, plus Gwen also being able to win out on those sides. So I think it's very much Vitality control side lanes, whereas when you look at Heretics is we want to 5v5, we want Flakked to step up as the carry again.
I'm so embarrassed to ask, is that Gwen or Sona? Well,
it is Gwen.
Yes!
It is Gwen.
Yes! Gwen enjoying the audience. I haven't seen her standing up.
She's in the game. Dagda. There's a picture there. Dagda. Just look at the picture and look at her.
You said that there's some pros messing around with Kaiser mid. This is the first Kaiser mid worldwide. Let's hit the rift. Welcome to Summoners Rift for the last time in week 1 here. Obviously, I'm having an absolute blast today. And I did scream it at the top of my lungs, but I'll just validate this. I got a ping from our stats team who mentioned that this is the first Kaiser mid worldwide. So obviously looking at the mid regions, cannot 100% speak to some lower leagues or feeder leagues. But let's talk about this this expectation. How do you want to see the game played out, and what do you make of it again into the likes of LeBlanc, Wukong, right? There's going to be some things that Vetheo needs to be a little careful with if Bo decides to spend any time mid lane.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for the Kaiser is it's kind of another champion that can take big advantages of the static shiv. So the fact that, again, you have that ultimate which adds on to the units, which you get then for the static shiv, makes it very easy. Plus the fact she's just great wave clear with the Q. So you do have awful lot of options to match the LeBlanc, and also you can build AP. So going towards things like Luden's Echo is going to be great for Vetheo here already, setting up with Heretics for an invade.
I mean, when you do think about it as well, right? When that static shiv gets upgraded and the hypercharge can be upgraded, I think when you see Vetheo dipping into a bit of stealth, you combine the auto plus the Q from the Catherine Rain plus then the static shift. That's a lot of burst already before you add in anything else. And obviously Vetheo will have a little bit of a good time very early on, being able to auto attack trade and trying to bully that Perkz LeBlanc. We also caught a very quick glimpse down that bottom lane. I want to see what Upset and Kaiser can do. These are two players that have very famously played aggressively. They like to get in your face with that Nautilus in the bottom lane. The moment they can, you can already see Kaiser stepping forward, looking for that auto. Won't channel in instead, goes for the dredge line. Flakked's going to be able to push forward, being backed up by that campfire and getting a couple of hugs there from Mersa. They win the trade pretty handily.
Yeah, you can see why Milio is a little bit dumb. The fact you get 2 shields and you then have the heal that comes through from the W plus the extended range means that Kaiser immediately loses trade, despite the fact that Vitality were able to get kind of the first punch in that one. Still though means that now Upset and Kaiser will be playing on the back foot. Although not really dissuaded, he's going to hop over the wall here with the W and try and get in on top of Jankos.
Very nicely done. Great job by the observers once more. Oh, fantastic. I can only presume he's still out of vision. I don't know if anybody would have seen that little pet though, unless they're watching. Bo, I think he's pulled off a Mission Impossible, may have just stepped back. Vetheo, flash available. Perkz needs to connect with the chains. While that's going on, I'm seeing Kaiser being pushed back just a little. Bo spending a fair amount of time here. He's only cleared out that eastern quadrant. Warrior, Trickster, forward, Nimbus strike. Crushing blow goes down and Vetheo escapes, actually winning out on the trade, pushing Bo to 100 HP.
That's the thing, like, you don't actually have a rep buff here for Bo, so not able to get the slow to set up there for Perkz either, so made it a little bit more difficult then for him to really get anything going, and I can kind of understand where Bo is. He's a little bit nervous because, hey, look, I got the invade onto my top side, a lot of that's gone, I feel like I need to make a play to get back into it, but it's just not really working out for him.
No, not this time around. We did see a bit of a push forward coming out from Flakked and Mersa. Root's going to connect, dredge line, pulls Mersa backwards. Campfire up, and Kaiser once again worse for wear. Burned through his consumables. Dead even CS in the bottom lane. Minor advantage for Vetheo mid. Photon, minor advantage top. He's pushing into Ebby as you would expect. Here comes Jankos, here comes Bo. I would imagine this is just to push this wave forward, allow Vetheo to get that back. He can teleport to lane now and then have that unleashed teleport of 10 minutes if that is the plan.
I think it's also a case of, well, we kind of spotted our Bo go moving down towards the bottom side. So again, you're getting full information here for Heretics about exactly what Bo is up to. And if that's the case, well, you're in a great spot. Again, you've got Flakked who's going to scale fantastically into the later portion of the game alongside this Milio. You've got the Sion. Like, all you have to do is take this one nice and slow. And you're getting some of the early trades going in your favor as well. For example, with Flakked getting that nice trade on the bot side. This is exactly what Heretics want.
All right, well, Heretics dead even for now. And we continue to see Mersa and Flakked kind of staring down, upsetting Kaiser. Almost every time we see Kaiser, he's stepping forward, looking for a hook. This time round, the animation lines up with the skill shot. We've seen some wonky dredge lines this weekend is what I'll say. I think which is a dumb. We said some dumb dredge lines. Yeah. That was what we said earlier. And right now with the upset backing, he's got himself the cull as he's returned to lane. The Sheen picked up for Flakked and Bo. Will be first into the Dragon Pit. Both mid lane and bot lane could respond. I think Perkz should be able to clear that wave out unless Vetheo decides to step into the river.
Yeah, what I want to see from Vitality here, though, is how well they're actually going to be coordinated on this style of composition. You have a lot of moving parts here with people trying to play towards side lanes. Engages need to be coordinated, and I think that's the big word for me that Vitality have been missing is that coordination. You can see like Bo will go in sometimes where Perkz and everyone else is running for the hills. Vitality are overextended in side lanes. We saw that a hell of a lot in spring, and that comes back to bite them. So this composition is kind of going to either highlight how far Vitality have come from spring, or just show that there hasn't really been that improvement on those issues that Vitality already faced.
I'm also trying to remember, I think Kaiser played Nautilus yesterday as well and had a number of hooks.
Yeah.
And ended up getting punished for it. Like, it almost felt as though he was looking for the engages, the team wasn't. Those have been fairly consistent problems for Vitality all year long, as you've alluded to. And I think in this game, there's a little bit of parallel in my brain to our Koi Mad game from earlier, where one team was kind of looking and hoping for those 5v5s, and the other team wanted to play the side lanes or had better tools for side lanes. So for Team Heretics, can they get themselves into position where they can use this double AD comp, use that front line? Can they avoid, you know, being flanked and engaged by the Wukong and the LeBlanc, who can look for those, you know, opportunities? And also one other small thing, with the amount of time Bo did spend trying to set up in that middle lane, he is behind a level, he's down nearly 20 CS. Oh, he's in some trouble as Kaiser pulls himself to the wall, luckily doesn't take too much damage for it.
Yeah, I think the big factor was because Bo got invaded level 1, actually Flakked caught.
Oh, remember, cooldowns here for Mersa. Doesn't have that campfire up just yet, so waiting that one out, jumping in immediately. But they will be able to, they will be forced to back away for now.
Yeah, so the problem for Bo was because he got invaded on the top side early, it meant that he had to give up his Raptors and his Red. So, and also then wasn't able to get access to his Crooks. So a lot of those were later spawning camps, but now Heretics going to try and punish the fact that Bo has to be on his top side. At least they figured that he's on his top side, spotting him on that ward. So Jankos now starting to move in and should be able to zone off, upsetting Kaiser from this bot wave.
Well, thank you for the reminder. I'd actually forgotten about the fact Vetheo helped clear out those chickens. And with the engage, that's a level 6 on Jankos. Throws out the Nature's Grasp, the chase forward from the Killer Instinct. Kaiser's below 100, first blood picked up by Vetheo. Vetheo, vamos, Team Heretics!
And he even has the TP now to get back to mid, so you can see Perkz desperately trying to push in that mid wave. We'll be able to get some chip damage, but the TP will come through. A kill for a plate, you'll take that every day of the week as Heretics.
Very well played there. Managing to use that level advantage and managing to find that first kill, so that pushes the bottom lead marginally ahead. They've got the plate, they've got a 10 CS advantage, the kill in Vetheo's back pocket, 1,000 gold lead. And that's also what you want to see on champions like Kaiser, like Zeri. You really want to get them to 1 item, 2 item points, because those ADs, they just scale so incredibly well with a very tanky front line.
Yeah, you can see there Kaiser flashing away, but now you've got Vetheo being able to make his way over because he'd already been locked up, so already had that stack of plasma, so able to follow through. And now you can start to transition this over towards the Rift Tower, which is why Kaiser actually foregoing bot side, immediately moving mid. They want to try and get control over this mid lane so they can lean up towards that, but Bo is in the spot side jungle.
Level 6, I think he has double buffs. Found himself a Milio. Cyclone is thrown down, that forces out the flash. Bo won't be able to continue the chase. Backup coming. You can see Kaiser as well as Perkz were making their way down bottom lane. Upset's just going to run out of ammo on red, and don't think he'll be able to pick up the plate. So Mersa now flashless. That is a juicy target. Kaiser's going to get level 6 fairly soon if they wanted to set up a play. And they weren't able to get more than just that.
That was your timing, though, on Vitality.
Yeah.
You'd look at Jankos, no ult, Vetheo, no ult. Okay, maybe we can try and make a play. They decide not to go towards Rift Herald, instead try to make the play on bot side. Now, it does buy enough time for Perkz to clear out mid, reset and get his own static shift, but that's about to be matched by Vetheo. So now you're just in a position where Heretics' ultimates are going to be coming back up quicker, and they can actually start to turn that into maybe a play on bot side, but more than likely try and look towards something like the Rift Herald. But with Photon having as much control as he does over the top side of the map, could be difficult to try and get Ebby involved in that play.
Yeah, and of course, for Ebby, we saw him there just a minute ago. Honestly, ignoring Photon as best as he can. He's staying relatively even on farm. Photon continues to just push that wave over and over. There's a control ward from Vitality just in front of blue buff. The observers are highlighting it now. And both static shivs were secured for the respective mid laners. So let's see who's going to be able to push those aside. And we're going to be seeing a lot of lightning bouncing back and forth. Teleports on now unleashed, so now we can see where either of the players are going to use. I think it's only Ebby that has his available. And Jankos is actually going to go for a very long range catch out. Smashes down onto Perkz, and Nature's Grass forces out the flash. So Team Heretics, for the time being, controlling Vitality. If that W had hit, could have chased it up, found another kill.
Yeah, I mean, there was already the plasma there, but even just the fact that you just needed one more auto then to proc the passive would have been huge. But buys time now for Vetheo on this mid lane turret alone, so should be able to get some damage there. Rift Tower was secure on the top side, so this will be a trade with Heretics looking instead to go towards the Dragon for themselves.
Of course, for Team Heretics, if they are able to close this out, I mean, the only other team at 3-0 joining the Spanish celebration this weekend, Mad Lions, 3-0 for now. Team Heretics, they've started off the Dragon. This is the second of the game. It'll be the first for them, and they will secure it. Teleport now being channeled. Photon has his in 6 seconds. Moonlight Vigil goes out. Mercer's running low, but the kill is secured. That's Bo taken down. Ebby's catching out. Upset, decimating. Smash comes down. Flakked finds the kill. The Dragon and 2 for Heretics.
And this has become the bread and butter for Heretics. 4 go topside. Ebby on a tank will say, look, I don't care about top lane. What I want to do is make sure Flakked gets these leads. Teleports in for the Dragon, gets some kills for Heretics, secures that Dragon as well. But it does mean that Photon going to get a lot on this top side. And Gwen, with extra gold and extra resources, is going to be very terrifying. So this is a trade that has to pay off for Heretics.
And of course, for Heretics though, both Zeri and Kaiser have some tools in their kit to avoid and get away from that Gwen. But take a look at the fight. I mean, look, no teleport for Photon, so this is just a 5v4 numbers advantage.
And everyone tries to jump on towards Vetheo, but you've got the cozy campfire, you've got those shields coming through. Ebby had already managed to steer himself over towards Upset as well. So Vitality, again, we talked about coordination at these team fights. Everyone was split different directions, and they're not even ready for the TP from Ebby either.
Exactly. I mean, they had either a mistiming or they were at a disadvantage in the first place. They were a little late to the objective. It was secured before the fight even began. So for Team Heretics, that was just like playing whack-a-mole, really. Kind of fairly easy sequence of events. So kill for Jankos, kill for Vetheo, as well as a kill for Flakked. Vitality were setting up a bit of pressure in the top lane. Herald will be dropped immediately. This should secure the tower. Can Heretics find a bounce back in the bottom. Currently 2v1 as Kaiser's going to arrive late. So this should end up being a tower trade, but tower first play goes to Vitality.
This is a good call from Vitality though. They're like, we need to get something back. We have this Rift Herald. Double down on the fact that like our solo laners with the split push are going to be our main win condition. Caught though here, but there's just 2 tanks in this top side, so shouldn't actually get too much more.
No, and of course I want to give some credit here. Vitality actually defended that bottom tower. We haven't taken a glimpse at the minions just yet. Perkz will get interrupted. AB no ultimate, so cannot continue that chase. Down to 1 and a bit plates. Flakked now stepping forward. We'll secure another. And that's also a big advantage for now. 1,000 gold up on the Zeri over upsets Aphelios.
But it is matched by the Gwen, right? And I think the big thing is when you start to look towards the opportunity to take down Ebby in the side lane, it is going to get to a stage where Photon can kind of just ignore Ebby and just go for the towers. Even when you get into team fights as well, that's going to be a lot of damage that's coming through from the needlework. And you are both short range on the Kaiser and the Zeri. Yes, you've got some opportunities to try and have a bit of mobility there, but you can still end up taking pop shots at them with that ultimate. And one of the big things that we see a lot is just using that Shroud offensively as Gwen is so good against these short-range AD carries because you can force them back out of these fights and make it very difficult for them to operate. Yes, it's a much shorter cooldown now than it previously used to have, but still can be so difficult for these AD carries to deal with.
Yeah, and that means that Vetheo and Flakked, the positioning is going to be crucial. I also think the timing windows, once the Cyclone or the Depth Charge find their targets, that's really going to be simple for Photon and Perkz to jump on their target. So can Vitality be in the right place? Or will they be coordinated? We've got a minute 40 until the next Dragon. And that's what I'm looking for. Once we do get to either the next Herald or we get to the next Dragon fight, I want to see how coordinated Vitality appear as a team because Heretics have been on the same page. It's part of the reason that they have gone 2-0 this weekend.
And on the flip side, I want to see Vitality try and play this map out so that they can actually try and contest this.
Yeah.
I think it's a mistake not having Perkz in the side lane right now. Like you can see at the moment, Photon is just clearing topside of his own jungle because he can't really push up onto the wave. Whereas if you actually move upside into the mid lane, well, then you've got an opportunity for Kaiser to lean into topside. They can actually play off that. They can start to establish vision. And even for the Rift Tower, that's going to be up in a minute and a half's time. And there's now an opportunity as well where Perkz can just W in, take a couple of pop shots at the tower with the static shiv, and just slowly start to whittle away at that. So I think Vitality, we've seen it a couple of times over the weekend, just mismanaging where their players are on the map.
Yeah, and of course for this composition with the Gwen with the LeBlanc, you really want to see that optimized. Depth charge is thrown out. Mersa's already used the flash teleport from Photon and Perkz. It has now been matched by Ebby. We're 40 seconds from the Dragon. I think the fact that Mersa flashed so early did save his life. Also, Upset just picked up that Kraken Slayer in the previous back. Flakked has been sitting on the Trinity Force for a little bit longer. Vitality, to me, looked like they wanted to play for the Dragon. They didn't find the kill, so now they are the ones that are actually being pushed back.
Yeah, it was a pick to see if they could start things off, then get bought into the tower if they were, sorry, into the Dragon if they wanted to. But now everyone in Heretics is here. Vetheo has TP, so he can just join whenever he wants. So instead, Heretics, they establish river control, and I think this is the right call from Vitality, which is try and push mid, try and threaten the mid turret, because that's a big win in and of itself. But Heretics don't want to give up this river control.
Team Heretics are a little bit split up here. Ebby and Mersa moving up. Vetheo will be able to dash away from the first chain, caught by the second. Dragon has been tagged by Jankos, and it's a tower trade for now. The first of the game for Heretics. Vetheo's going to commit the TP, so we've seen all 4 teleports into this bottom lane. Dragon will go the way of Heretics, and Vitality, I think wisely, don't look for the, straight up front to back 5v5.
As long as they can get Rift Herald, they're actually in a really good spot because they got the mid lane turret. This is composition that wants to play for sides. Mid lane turret is crucial to try and get that objective complete. But for Heretics, they're already starting to walk in, and yeah, you just got to give up Herald. Unfortunately, just not enough damage before Heretics can move over, and that's the 5v5 threat that Heretics offer here.
So I quite like the respect that we've seen both the previous game as well as this one in terms of teams understanding their opponents' strengths. Vitality very, very clearly did not want to be in a position they could get caught by an unstoppable onslaught, the Nature's Grasp. They still have the tower advantage. I mean, look at this now. Photon should be able to pick up another tower. So they did lose the Herald. I think it's going to end up being a 2-for-1 tower trade. But the Dragon also goes the way of Heretics. So for Vitality, for the next 10 minutes, I want to see what their plan is to prevent Heretics from getting that soul.
Yeah, I think the big one is just trying to get control over the jungle and move from side to side. So you can already see Perkz is moving up towards that top side. You send Photon into bot lane, and it's about Upset being able to push in this mid wave and then unlock Kaiser and Bo to lean to whatever side they think they can really threaten. With the Vetheo at the moment, yes, he still has flashing as his ult. Might be a bit difficult to try and make those plays, but he is so susceptible to these 3-man plays that can come through with the amount of CC that Vitality have to offer.
Yeah, I mean, that ultimate is an aggressive tool. It can obviously be used defensively, but it's a lot more tricky, a lot more nuanced in how to pull it off. He's currently only got 100 gold lead. The significant advantage is still between Flakked and Upset, balanced out by Photon as well as Ebby. And with all of those outer towers down, Vitality can really start to push on these side lanes. You see how quickly Photon and this Gwen can push the waves out. Perkz with that static shift can also do the same. 2 items completed for both of them. And I guess for Team Heretics, they're going to look for opportunities where they can try to force a fight, but they definitely are losing control of both their jungle and just the lanes in general right now.
Yeah, they're all grouping mid here to try and contest the push that Vitality were trying to set up. So you can see Upset now has control over this mid wave, but you really need LeBlanc up in this top side. Ebby, I don't think you actually want to take that really here, but yeah, he will just be able to back away. But you can see the problem at the moment is just the resets that are coming through from Vitality. So Upset going for the reset at the moment, right as they're about to get control over top side. So realistically, as this push is going to come in, you can actually get the counter push that's about to come through from Heretics. So you're not actually able to play around that. You've even got the Rift Herald in the mid lane here. So Vitality just mismanaging the resets that they have on different champions means that now you're actually getting full control here for Heretics, whereas you should be able to try and play sides a little bit stronger. Like at the moment, Perkz would love to be threatening that tier 2, but he can't because they have no presence in the mid lane with Upset going for the reset.
Yeah, of course, the entire team is backing away. The grouping from Heretics, at least thwarting the initial moves. I think for the most part, up until recently, Vitality have been able to control the Rift relatively well, fairly cleanly. They do still have some of those metrics as in their favor. And we are 2 minutes away from the next dragon. Teleports are up for Photon, for Perkz, as well as Ebby. Vetheo is on cooldown. But I think there's not enough vision yet to really unlock tier 2 pressure. Some wards on that western quadrant, but it's very risky for Photon or Perkz to do that right now.
Yeah, see, the problem is, again, is like, look, you're looking at the resets that are coming through. So immediately we've got Nautilus coming out of base, which means you can't get push in mid, which means immediately Heretics are like, cool, we can rotate up to this top side to defend it. So you're not really getting the wave synced at all. And this is where the problems for Vitality are coming from. Upset doesn't feel safe pushing up to the wave because Bo isn't with them, he hasn't got Kaiser with them, so without being able to contest mid-push, you can't get pressure on sides either. Photon on reset too, so it's just this ping-ponging of waves back and forth before this dragon in a mid's time, which means that Heretics are like, brilliant, now we just 5-man group on mid, we push out mid, get river control, we get the fights.
Third dragon as well, second item picked up for Flakked. He's got the Runons to complement the Triforce. Upset still working towards his second. So that is a bit of a power imbalance or power disadvantage for Vitality. And again, look at this minimap. Because of the grouping, the movement that you just showed on the minimap as Heretics moved left, it allowed the mini wave to be pushed to the top tower. Ebby's not going to stick around to trade. Instead, deny some of those minions, allow them to do the work, and Photon's trying to push. But this is a little bold. Not a lot of vision, or really any, in the southern quadrant of the map. Luckily, a lot of champions are showing, so he can at least get a couple of autos before he's forced away.
But as Vetheo starts to move bot side, this is where now we're looking at Vitality trying to see if they can threaten Baron. But realistically, I don't think that's the call. You've got TP still there for Vetheo. They have the tankier front line. They can easily CC you up. Trying to see if they can get on here, though. See what they can, chip damage they can do.
I mean, look, the chains catching out of Jankos will force the Nature's Grasp. Ebby continues to step forward. Unstoppable Onslaught is available. Flakked takes a chunk of damage. Photon goes in. Ebby starting to get burned down. Mersa's running for his life. The first kill secured is Ebby. The zombie trying to thwack away at members of Vitality. Vitality find themselves a kill. It's a 5 versus 4. And Heretics are pushing into the river. That's a catch. The kill secured by Photon. Kaiser setting that one up. Jankos is the next target. And Team Heretics have just been destroyed. One last dredge line to close it out. A 4-for-1 in favor of Vitality.
The whiff on the engage from Heretics was the go button from Vitality. Photon managing to run the entire way upriver and join his squad, and Vitality managing to get the kill, managing now to get the Baron, and they're going to be in such a good spot with this buff.
I mean, really well played. The pressure onto Jankos forcing out the Nature's Grasp then almost made Team Heretics panic. They step forward. Right now, Baron is down to 4,000 hit points. Abby, no ult available, can channel the decimating smash. He's fighting into a smite though. Here comes Flakked. Vitality will be able to pick up the Baron. They might be able to get themselves a bonus kill as well as that teleport. And there will be now a reply coming in. Photon chasing. So the kill, the TP, the Baron, Vitality have all the tools they need to play this high lane game.
They can even move over towards the Dragon on resets as well if you want. Photon is there to maybe try and contest, but it looks like instead Vitality are just going to say, cool, Heretics, you have that one. We've got push and top. Static Shift will quickly clear out that minion wave. They can start with both of those burned up waves to clear out this top lane tier 2. So Vitality now finally starting to get control in this game.
I mean, I'm scratching my head a little bit at that. The decision to step forward. I really want to see that replay play out. Team Heretics did get the third dragon, so obviously one away from Soul. That could be a big difference maker, considering the fact that they are down in gold. But I mean, here, Perkz managing to force out Jankos, and yeah, just that step forward reminder as well. Vetheo not there yet.
But that's the thing here is Jankos, you're actually fine if that really connects.
Yeah.
I think they were thought Bo was going to commit harder to that play, but Upset totally fine in the back line. You Vetheo nowhere near. You didn't want to commit the TP initially, so a little bit of miscommunication with Heretics about how quickly they were going to turn onto this. And for the large majority of this is 4 versus 5. You can see Vetheo, he shows up, but he hasn't even got an auto attack off this entire fight.
Yeah, watching it back, I think I really agree with you in terms of like the pacing of the timing. Did he flash into that hook, by the way? I didn't quite see that, or nevertheless, Dredgeline managing to catch out onto Milio. It almost looked like he flashed into it. Regardless of that fact, I do think the fact that as they stepped forward... Oh, we're rewinding, we're rewinding. Thank you, observers. That was a little janky, but that's my fault. Oh, okay, flash forward, right. I really, because I saw that when we were live, I got a little confused by it. Nevertheless, Mersa did go down. And to finish off the thought, Team Heretics literally just walked into the meat grinder of Vitality, but I do think the timing, the calls of like, we're not ready to turn, not ready to wait a few seconds, and those few seconds is all Vitality needs to kill them.
Yeah, and then that was the fact that you had Photon on the way, it felt like Heretics were like, okay, they're about to go, we need to try and have the answer, but just jumping the gun a little bit. And now you're in a really good spot. Again, as we said, as Vitality, they've managed to get a good amount of the towers down. You saw that top tier 2 fall, bot tier 2 is now fallen, mid tier 2 is the only thing that's left. As the Baron buff is about to fall off though, might get this wave to crash, but I don't know if they can get the tower. Heretics should be able to mount a defense here.
They should be able to do so, especially as numbers are coming up. Vetheo with that static shift. He's dealt 2,000 bonus damage to champions thanks to the shift. Perkz, on the other hand, 2,800. With Baron now worn off, 3 minutes until the Dragon. This is where I want to see Vitality setting up that vision, either finding that successful pick so they can take the Dragon uncontested, or maybe using the gold item advantage to kill off the carries and they can just win the fight.
This is the win con for Heretics though. You're going to have your third item completed for Flakked. He's going to be in a great spot. And as well, when you look towards things like the fact that you already are staring in the barrel of a soul, this is where Heretics need to try and find those opportunities. So for Vitality, it's a case of pushing in top continuously, threatening that top inhibitor turret, so Vitality really don't get a chance to, so Heretics don't really get a chance to set up on their bottom side correctly, get the vision that they need, and then Vitality can look for picks, look to burst someone out as Heretics look to retake vision.
And I mean, look at the gold difference. 3,000 gold lead for Photon over Abby on a Gwen, and then Bo 1,700 up. Shout out, Gwen, thank you. But I do think on a champion like that in the hands of Photon, this is definitely a stellar performance thus far. And if he finds those needleworks, those snips, Zeri and Kaiser will just get obliterated in fights.
Yeah, the good news for Flakked at least is that you are playing Zeri and she's dumb. So you do have just a bunch of HP, which will definitely help deter Photon for at least a little bit. But I think when you're looking at Vitality, it's definitely a case of, look, you have a ton of burst that's coming out from Perkz. You got the follow-up that Photon could kind of take the sniper shots with. And again, this is what we're talking about, right? Pushing waves, establish vision, keep Heretics out of this bottom side, and make it really difficult to contest any sort of vision.
I understand looking at the minimap as chaos right now. Look at all of the pings, look at the communication from both sides. But with a minute 20, Vitality trying to deepen that vision line. They are trying to push the bottom wave as well and the middle, setting up to deny the soul. I think you mentioned it, Dagda, that's one of the win cons here for Heretics. Get that soul, force the fight. Also importantly, it pulls Vitality towards you where your composition now starts to have those additive values.
Yeah, and especially if you're looking at this as Vitality, the big thing you want to do is just try and keep this line just drawn right across here where no vision at all is going to be set up. And then it means that Heretics have to either push mid, where you can have Perkz waiting in this push just here, and then he can always pop out, or you actually have to try and face check it, which is not where you want to be.
No, not at all. I mean, we saw the little face check there. Perkz comes away a little worse for wear. He's teleporting back. Level 15 to Vetheo's level 16. Also, item advantage for Flakked. He's got 3 completed. Comparison to the 2.5. This is a TP into the red buff. It's going to get spotted out. He has Sapling thrown down. Can hop over the wall. 25 seconds until the next dragon is up. 40 seconds for Baron. So the scales can tip very heavily in the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, Heretics are saying, look, we can't fight that mid control. We're just going to try and move into bot, but Photon has hidden himself in behind, and they have absolutely no idea. Vitality have read this really well. Flakked, he doesn't hit the shots. He thinks it's free.
Snip, 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 snip. Needlework's thrown out. Flakked is on the dump jump, and he's got the HP to work through. The needlework doesn't do it. Now Perkz is inside the middle of 5 members of Heretics, and Flakked takes him out. Now Kaiser and Upset are caught by the decimating smash, and both doing what he can. But Flakked survives. Here goes Photon looking for Mersa. Mersa's able to walk away. He's got that warm hug, and that keeps him alive. 1 for 2 in favor of Heretics. The dragon is up, though. They need to get the objective. Team Heretics are not done yet.
The problem was, though, Photon went that little bit too early, so the rest of Vitality weren't really in position. The follow-up is eventually there, and Vitality pushed back, but Jankos has Smite, Vitality don't, and Vitality started the dragon.
And there's no teleport for Perkz. He used it to get in position before that fight. Flakked is low. Mersa is low. Photon's trying to use that hallowed miss to the best of his advantage. Decimating smash comes out. Flakked somehow stays away from the needles. But they will lose Jankos, and Vitality will be able to prevent the soul. Will be able to pick up their second dragon and maintain some semblance of control right now.
But you better take a breather, because Baron is now open. We're still going to see the same. But you can see here, like, Heretics are pushing back, and Photon thinks maybe Flakked's going to move. He'll lose his opportunity, but it means that Photon goes way too far forward. And then the rest of Vitality are going, but Photon's like, wait, I thought we were piecing out. I didn't think we were going to fight this. Bo ends up falling, and then it's kind of a, oh wait, Upset is actually doing damage. We can try and make this, but here's that Baron fight.
Okay, Baron fight coming in. Perkz will not be able to find the target, and look at Envy being melted down. Could not use that ultimate to engage. It does not look like Heretics can contest this. They have a numbers disadvantage. They do not have the front line, and that means Baron will go the way of Vitality. A whimper of a defensive attempt. Oh, that was so close, wasn't it?
87 HP. That was very close to Vetheo making a hero play, but not quite going to be the case. Still, Vitality will step away with the Baron up. They still want to make sure that Heretics are not hitting that 3-0 for their first weekend. But at the moment, with Upset now completing that Bloodthirster, with their items starting to be complete, Vitality, they are serious threats when it comes towards this Baron play.
I mean, that previous fight in the bottom lane, is that a little bit of indicative of the same thing we've seen this weekend? You know, like you mentioned, Photon kind of piecing out, Bo kind of going in. It looked like it is either a little bit of a miscommunication or just in the chaos of the moment, not communicating, obviously.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the biggest problem that we've seen for Vitality, is that they're just not sure how exactly they want to try and play the game, whether it comes to team fights or how they set up on the map, and it is definitely coming back to bite them. Vitality now starting to move into the spot side, though. This is a much better setup. You've Perkz in the mid, he's pushing in, you've got the control on bot side, you've got control over the jungle, and it makes it very hard for Heretics to deal with this power.
It's a 7,000 gold lead for Vitality. And right now, Photon is the man who has the majority of that. 5,000 gold in the lead. Vitality with Baron-empowered minions, pushing both middle and bottom lane. They've got 6 towers secured already. Starting to place those wards, waiting for the next dragon to come back up in a few minutes' time. But look at this, looking for the engage. Reminder that in the straight 5v5, even though that gold disparity is significant, if Flakked and Vetheo are able to burn through some of those front line with standing behind Sion and Maokai, that is how Team Heretics want to play this comp. But the problem is, because of the big advantage that Photon's generated, he could also just burn through everybody. I mean, look at that, 5,000 gold lead. And we're paying a lot of respect to potential damage you can put out. Edgeline will find Abby. Nature's Grasp going forward. 2 targets rooted. Unstoppable Onslaught goes out, but it's just a clone that is killed. Flakked will take down Kaiser. Waiting for the killer instinct, that's going forward. Vitality have lost Perkz as well. That's a shutdown secured. Now Flakked with an Ultra Shock Laser onto Photon. Continues to chase, level 15 into level 18. Zap, zap, zap. One more for Flakked. Team Heretics with the 5v5 get the fights.
Vetheo TP to the mid. They want to make sure that they can try and end this. That's 35-second death timers, and Photon is not around for a minute. Heretics, they might have just won it off that play.
How is that possible? They managed to punish Vitality. They managed to find the kills. Vitality stared them right down the barrel of a 5v5, and Team Heretics have won it. They're still down in gold. Now all of a sudden, Kaiser is spawning. I do know there is some lag on the HUD. I apologize to everyone at home, but they've done it. Team Heretics have done it. They've taken out the Nexus turrets. They've taken out the Nexus. They have punished Vitality. Team Heretics go 3-0.
Heretics, who need everything if they hope to make it to the season championship, are coming out with a 3-0 weekend to start off their campaign. What a turnaround for this squad.
And the early game looked good. Team Heretics were playing to their composition. They were in a position they needed to defend the base, and they just straight up won a team fight. I don't know how to feel about that. On one hand, great, fantastic, they executed well. On the other hand, did Vitality need to be in that position? You know, pushing, forcing. They could have tried to push the other lanes. I don't know. Ultimately, Team Heretics, they did win it.
And that's the thing. Look, I think we went on ad nauseum, honestly, about the mistakes that Vitality were making when it came towards their coordination and the communication in those fights. But I think it is really take a moment to just celebrate the fact that we're again seeing Heretics step up here. Like Flakked again, flashing forward at the end to get those kills, looking great in these team fights. Vetheo bringing out the first Kaiser mid as well, looking good, being able to go toe-to-toe with this disgustingly strong LeBlanc by matching it with the static shiv. I mean, phenomenal stuff from Heretics. This is the bounce back that we were really hoping for when we saw Flakked and Vetheo being added to this roster.
Fascinating start to the weekend. First Kaiser mid all year in the hands of Vetheo. One of the sort of up-and-coming promising players of, I think, the last couple of years. This 2023 has not been good for Vetheo. First 3 games on Heretics, he's picked up 3 wins already. And of course, combined with Jankos and Flakked, it's a great start to the Summer Split.
Yeah, and I think the fact that they have these kind of different styles, well, I was going to say different styles, but realistically, it's been a very similar story. It's, hey, we're going to play for these late game team fights. We had seen a lot of the Aphelioses. We'd seen the fact that they are now bringing out things like the Zeri. This team knows how they want to play the game, and no one's been able to shut them down as of yet.
Scratching my head about that final fight there from Vitality. You want to see the setup. Anyways, player of the game nominees at LEC on Twitter: Vetheo, Flakked, and Mersa. Those are your 3 candidates. They are now joining Mad Lions. 3-0 are the only 2 teams undefeated here after week 1.
Spanish dominance.
Spanish dominance. That's the way it is. Anyways, that does it from us at the Casters. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to head over to the interview where Trouble is standing by with no mercy, Mersa.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. Fantastic cast, guys. Mersa, congratulations.
Thank you. Ευχαριστώ.
First and foremost, because it's very important, your mom is in the studio for the first time ever, and you guys went 3-0. Is there anything you want to tell her?
Yeah, I mean, she brought me a lot of luck. It was her first time visiting me in Berlin, and we won all our games, so I couldn't be happier right now. I feel very relieved to win this game, so everything is perfect.
That's great. You got the mom buff. It actually worked. Back to gameplay now, because that game looked so difficult. There were backs and forths. You guys looked like you were winning. Then you got Aphelios. You know how this goes. But there's a particular fight in that bot lane that turned this whole game around, and you instantly ended up finishing right after that fight. Please run me through this.
I mean, I feel like they overextended here. Like, they used Wukong clone before Maokai ult and Nautilus Q. So it looked kind of good angle for us, and we immediately Maokai ulted and ran them down. Also, I think if we play front to back with double ADC, we outscale them. We just messed up earlier fights. So I think we were kind of good in the game. It was just hard to deal with the split push.
Yeah, absolutely looked like it. Now, you guys cooked a little bit in this game. We saw the Zeri coming through, and then we saw a Kaiser coming through, and we're like, hold on a minute, that's 2 AD carries, but one of them can use static shiv. So what was the thought process behind that?
I mean, I feel like there's no counterplay to static shiv LeBlanc right now. So you just have to match it with another champ that can buy static shiv.
Okay.
And that's what we did. We were prepared for it. and we gave LeBlanc on purpose, and that was our goal.
Yeah, and I was asking the production behind the scenes. I'm like, okay, but that's a Kaiser that's kind of hybrid, wants to auto-attack, wants to stand still, very short range. She almost did as much damage as the Zeri, if not more, this game. So it absolutely works. So congrats to Vetheo on that one as well. Now, coming into the end of the week, huge 3-0 for you guys. Struggles over in spring. Now you're doing fantastically well. Did this week go as expected?
I mean, coming into Summer Split, we have very little points right from winter and spring, and our goal is to make worlds, even if that sounds very hard. And for sure, going 3-0 is great, but we still have 6 very hard games, and we didn't play the top teams yet, I think. So yeah, I'm happy, but we still have to work a lot.
You do have Koi, Excel, and BDS next week. Who do you think is going to be the toughest opponent to face?
I think even though BDS is 1-2 right now, I think they're going to be the strongest.
And why would that be?
Why? I mean, they almost won last split, right? And I don't think they are weaker. It's just the meta changed a little, and maybe like best of ones, everyone can lose, right?
And talking about the meta, is that your favorite meta, playing Milio Enchanters?
I mean, not really, but I think it showed yesterday when I picked Nautilus. I was kinda rusty after spamming enchanters all like for a whole month now. But yeah, I think fighter supports are more fun.
Okay, and since playing so many enchanters, of course, you need a very reliable AD carry, and your AD carry swapped between the 2 splits. How has the synergy been with Flakked so far?
Kinda good, even though we didn't even get to duo queue or anything. Just from scrims, we like each other a lot, and he's an ADC that short calls a lot, and that's very helpful because he knows when he needs to ask for resources. And it's ADC meta, right? It's very important to do that. So I'm pretty happy with Flakked.
That's absolutely amazing. Mersa, again, congratulations for a killer week. We're going to throw it over to PGL, where Kadril, Vetheo, and Frankie are waiting for you guys.
Thank you, Evan.